Awesome. So welcome to the roundtable, visibility roundtable. What we do here is we look at what I call the 12 spirals of visibility and lots of other bits in between. And in I'll put a little bit later, we've got a Facebook group where previous visible roundtables that we've looked at, which is a visibility plan for 2022, and last week was about operating in your zone of genius. They are all for free in a Facebook group that I've started called Voice and Visibility. So I'll put some links in for that, and then you can actually go and watch them free. But these will also be the ones that you have signed up for will also come out to you in an email as a recording. She says with a big behind it. So I'm like going, where did the Facebook group go? I will make sure you get the Facebook group link if you want to go and watch the other replays. But today's topic is around taking the brakes off or stopping putting them on in the first place. We're looking at operating in our zone of genius, and one of the biggest things around visibility is that you will find your most intense flow and passion around certain aspects of what you do in your work, whatever that is. There'll be a certain level of kind of flow around that. And I showed it to people as what I'm now calling, I don't know what everybody else is calling it, but I'm calling it this. Let me find it. This is a paper, and I've got it somewhere in the end. Where did that go? Hang on a sec. It's the last one. I'm calling this the visibility matrix, okay? And this is your kind of like, this is your zone of genius matrix. I can see this like that. Where we end up hanging out sometimes is hard to learn, hard to do. Think about what in your sort of world right now feels hard to learn, hard to do. We're going to look at some quadrants, and I'm going to ask you some questions. We're going to do a little work here. And the reason is on this particular topic today, I'm a firm believer that we don't often have business problems more as though we have all of our subconscious patterning showing up to stop us moving forward. Now, I am not here to fix everybody's problems, don't think you're broken. But what we often have is something that we tend to have an upper limit on. If you've ever read the book The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks or heard of it, it's very much about we often sort of make some progress and then we kind of pull ourselves back, or we make some progress and we pull ourselves back. And I'm going to be a little controversial here, because a lot of people in the transformational space, coach, service-based business type of people come to me, and I get a lot of people in the spiritual emphasis kind of come, and there's a lot around alignment and when people are aligned and when they're not. What we've got to be really clear about is, when are we really operating in our zone of genius, as it were? And our zone of genius is the things that you do best, and we talked about this last week, that you do best that people are actually going to really pay you for. The thing that you do, almost you can't remember learning it. What we end up getting stuck in is things like hard to learn, hard to do, hard to learn, easy to do. Now, this is not a bad place to be in, which is your zone of excellence. That's the things, the skills that you have earned and your experience in the workplace, the things that you've studied for. It's the things, it's like if I was going to start learning piano, it's very hard, but by the time I got to grade 8, it would be very easy for me. So I'd have an excellence in it and I'd have skills. We want to kind of start hanging out in these areas, but ultimately this is what's actually going to make you unique and different. What we often end up doing is, there's easy to learn, hard to do. Cleaning the toilets, filing certain bits that you'll eventually want to outsource or get some help with. What we don't want to do is kind of getting our own way around visibility, making up all sorts of stories around why we can't be visible. Now, visibility for different businesses is going to be, it can be different strategies, i.e., if you are wanting to work with senior leaders, then it's pretty pointless putting lots of stuff on Instagram, because it's not necessarily the right platform where they're going to see you. you're going to want to match what your ability is to where that person is. And sometimes we go, well, Angela, I don't know how to get there. Everybody's telling me I have to do it this way or that way. And I go, no. Part of it is kind of going, there's a space in you that knows the next step. And I absolutely believe there is an absolute space in you that knows exactly the next step to take. Most of the time, you won't want to take it. It's going to feel uncomfortable. Sometimes it's a skill to learn, and sometimes it's a move to make. It might be speaking. It might be, there's an area of like the next logical space where you are going to make the most progress. For some people, it's actually what I call turning pro and starting. I had a great conversation with Disha the other day. She said, when did you know that you'd kind of gone all in on your business and you really went? I said, all the way through, to be quite honest. But when I made a big major change in 2017, and I'm realizing actually I haven't even really introduced myself, I've just dived into the stuff, so that you kind of know exactly where my background is and who I am a little bit. But I spent, my name obviously Angela Durant, it's there in the corner. I spent 8 years as a voice coach working with hundreds of musicians and singers. And I really got to understand human behaviour in doing that, why people succeeded and why people didn't. And to be quite honest, I'm going to talk about where I had my upper limit, where I didn't realise, and how life gave me a big kick up the bum as to what I needed to do to make a shift. And then we're going to do a little bit of work. So I got to about sort of 2012, and the first person that came to me to do with public speaking or to do with messaging, etc., was working in a company, and he said, look, I've got an internal interview. I don't think I'm going to do very well, and I would like some help. So I think he charged me about $40 at the time to actually do it, back in 2012. And I thought nothing of it. I'm operating in my zone of genius, as it were. There was an opportunity for me, but I didn't realise it at the time. But I did get curious, and I worked with him for about an hour. He went away. I thought nothing of it. He wrote to me the next day and he said, they've given me the job. They said I had the best presentation of the day. And he wrote a testimonial for me on LinkedIn, and he's still there now 9 years, 9 months later in the role that he's in. So at that time I got really curious, and I started to look at what was going on with people. And what I found really interesting about business people rather than musicians is that business people would say, yes, I'm really confident in doing this. Yes, I can speak. Yes, I can get out. Yes, I can do this. And then I'm like going, well, why are you not doing it? Or why are you not doing very well? And then there was all these little excuses. And we'd kind of look and go, okay, well, in the music world, we have to kind of go behind the scenes and work this stuff out in order to go on the stage and perform it to people. So there's a lot of this kind of working stuff out and pushing the barriers and pushing your own comfort zone, and a bit like sports people do in their training. But business people don't like to do that kind of thing, because part of it is like this area of we get comfortable, and then we look outside to everybody else's tactics and everybody else's strategy, and we take our own ability to listen to our own wisdom of what we actually need to do off the table, and we start listening to everybody else except ourselves. And I'm a big one. I love strategy, but I also know that there is an inherent move. Like I ended up being on somebody's round table, a marketing round table, and the way that he ran them, I went, that's exactly what I want to do. And so I just knew that was my next move to make consistency with my visibility in the market. Like, you just know. Now, when I first ran a challenge, or when I first kind of did it, none of it's comfortable, but none of the edge is comfortable, pushing your edge, but it'll be in your zone of genius, if that makes sense, or it'll be a skill that you can learn to move you first through excellence and then into your zone of genius. So we're going to have a little question to see if we can find out where you feel stuck right now. Like, what do you keep coming up against? And you make a bit of a move, and then you kind of back off from it, and then you make a bit of a move, and then you back off. So anybody who knows me, like, I've spoken to a few people, they will know that I'm radically honest about some of the stuff that kind of works or doesn't work. No posturing around here. One of my big nemesis that I realized recently, sort of like even recently, was I'd get to an income ceiling, and then something could happen, something in the family, or I would kind of get a toleration point. It can't be this good next month as well as this. And you bring yourself back. And you get to a point and then you bring yourself back, almost like you kind of, it feels so uncomfortable to tolerate it actually happening and working that you'll find a way to pull yourself back. And you go, that's ridiculous, Angela. I won't do things like that. I want my business to grow. I'm all out there. I'm doing all the stuff. I'm posting, networking, being in groups. I'm doing the courses. I'm doing the lot. And I'm going, really? So where's that kind of little edge for you today, knowing that I believe inherently that we are not broken as people. We might have incredibly traumatic events in our life, but there's amazing ability, the resilience of humans to be able to actually tap into wisdom, insight, and what's right for them. Because I've worked with over 1,000 people, and the abilities in people, once they actually get clear on where their next move is and comfortable to just kind of go, yes, I'm committed to make it, it's absolutely amazing. But it's always a spiral, and you start to get to you do one iteration of it, and then you'll find you get to your next edge, and you get to the next iteration, and you get to the next edge. So it's always, I've never seen 13 years in business being a step-by-step process. If I look back, I can see the decisions I've made, both good and bad. I can see the moves that I've made that have worked or that have not worked. I've seen where I've got myself into hot water. I've also seen where life, the only way I can say it is like a kind of life moving me into opportunities. So to me, there's this kind of both this ability to have a kind of almost like a manifested serendipity, opportunities like can land in your lap. And at the same time, we also can and need to be proactive with a plan. It's like I kind of look and go, a plan is everything and a plan is nothing. If you haven't got some level of direction, so much would not have happened in my life and business this year if I didn't have a plan. And then other things showed up that I couldn't have planned for. And what if actually it's meant to be both of those things, and all we have to do on a daily basis is look and go, where am I at my edge, and what's the next move to make for me today? So it gets really granular, really focused, because all I'm hearing at the moment is everybody like, I'm overwhelmed. Okay. I did a poll on LinkedIn about a week and a half ago. I said, if you stop joining in, and this was a response, 65% of people said they were pulling back. They were kind of gone into a like hibernation. I'm like going, I'm not a squirrel. I got a couple of weeks off of Christmas. But if we're going to get a business as a solopreneur with a consistent, sustainable income, it doesn't mean on 24/7 at a speed of knots, but it does mean we've got to have a message. We've got to have a process and a systematic way that we're going to choose to show up in the marketplace on a regular basis. So it's not all in, all out, hokey cokey in, hokey cokey out. So one of the things that I noticed, everybody said, I'm pulling back and pulling back. And I just said, and then everybody's going to kind of go rushing out in 2022. And I just had that sense. I was like, no. Walking is just one step in front of the other. Building your business is one step in front of the other at the pace that makes complete sense to you, your lifestyle, the types of clients you want to work with, and really putting the blinkers on. And the reason why I say that with a bit of authority is that in the last 13 years of running my business, when I've made my biggest mistakes in terms of upper limiting myself was, number one, I didn't value my giftedness for a long time. Didn't value it at all. It took me having an opportunity in 2017 where suddenly I went from earning $2,500 a month, working 30 hours a week, to earning $2,500 a day, working with 30 people in a room. And until I had that opportunity, I didn't even see what was possible for me. I had got stuck in my thinking about what was possible for me. And there was a shift that helped me to create that sense of change at the time. And that's what's led to where you are here. just another iteration. But behind the scenes of all of that was the fact that we all are probably juggling things that we wish we weren't juggling. Like, my husband's had cancer for the last, what are we on? 10 years. So we've had kidney cancer, adrenals out, in the head, now in both lungs, lost my mum in the middle of it. This year alone, 5 hospital admissions, 1 in ICU where they told me he had 48 hours to live. Now, without the ability to be consistent and about the ability to find where our upper limit is, and my upper limit was asking for help and asking for support. There's no way that I could be here today doing this if I didn't now go, I'm not very good at asking for help or self-care. That's my next edge. So for some people, it could be an asking thing. We're not used to asking for help. For other people, it could be we don't want to go and do a talk or something to do with networking, or it could be we don't want to deal with the tech. That held me back for years because I had such a fear of tech that I found ways of being offline, sort of locally, and keeping my business going without a website. I think when I restarted again in 2009, I kind of went out and did my first 50 grand in 8 months without a website and with barely a business card. Not because I was brilliant, because I was too scared to have one, which is why now you're sort of sat here, I'm looking at your beautiful faces and I'm like, oh my goodness me, how amazing, because I actually went to get help in order to be able to work, to do my work or to spread my work to a wider base, as it were. So I hope that makes sense. Like, we all have like those upper limits, or where we get to a place where we go up here and then back, up here and then back, because growth is spiral, it's iterations, it's never limiting, it's never kind of linear. And I promise you, if you look into the marketplace right now, you will find 1,000,001 stuff out there. I'm a little bit I've got a bit of an anti-message right now. You will find 1,000,001 things out there in social media promising you to have a brilliant business in 90 days, all of your problems solved, magic wanding like there's no tomorrow. You'll also hear the opposite. You'll also go, you don't need all of that marketing to have a business. Just get into alignment and stay completely grounded. And I'm like going, you are both right on both sides of the coin. And it's very dangerous to kind of camp on one without having a foot on both, without actually having some balance between the two. There is a lot of action that I do behind the scenes, and I'm continuing to do and push myself almost like just that little edge outside my own personal comfort zone. And then on the other end of the scale, there's a bit where I sit back and I go, in that space that you need, and just go, where's the next move? What am I really feeling is the next move for me to help the people that I want to help? And suddenly in my inbox, out of nowhere, like, it's not out of nowhere because I've established that credibility over a few years, but in my inbox comes a message from Development Bank of Wales going, we know that you're a specialist in verbal communication. We've got somebody that needs coaching. Can I book a call? That's step by step, building your message, building your authority, building the message in iterates. And I'm not out there all the time. I'm no perfect person, as it were. I have not queened the whole business market in any way, shape or form. But there are some things that I've done initially to create my specialism that enables me now to start to branch out a little bit wider, to go, now we can create this as a more personal brand or as a team. Does that make sense? So we're looking at this bit and go, where are you today? We're going to just take a pause button. You can take a big collective sigh of relief, because you don't need more information right now. You simply need to look and go, what's the one thing that I think is stopping me right now? And we're going to kind of dive into it. For those of you who want a bit of hot seat coaching on that, as it were, and we get to the kind of go and what would be your visibility kind of thing after it, where do you go next? feel free, you know, kind of take the opportunity while it's here. I'm pretty good at this kind of stuff, you know. It's been my zone of genius. I wouldn't be putting it on the table otherwise. And if I don't know, I'll promise you I'll tell you. And then there'll be an opportunity at the end of this, if somebody wants to actually kind of spend about 45 minutes with me, having a conversation about what is their next move and what would be the most logical visibility strategy for that, then I do that. There's no selling, there's no nothing on there unless there's an opportunity or you feel that there's something that I'm doing that you'd be interested in. It's me showing up, doing this stuff, gaining your trust, as it were, hopefully, by helping you first. So I've got a couple of questions, right? Are you ready? Write them down, answer them, think about them. Let's go through some of these questions first, okay? And then you can do, those of you who feel like doing a bit of sharing, you can do. But I'm not going to force you. There's no kind of picking on people, you know, we don't do that kind of thing. So number one, in which areas do you feel like you start on the path, but you keep falling down the hole again? In other words, you get somewhere and you just drop it back. You don't know why. Could be money, it could be you get to a certain income and then you drop it back. It just, something happens and it just pulls the rug from under you. Or you kind of find, you know, a way all of your time goes all the time or whatever, or it's just that suddenly you get into, you know, you kind of, you get into overwhelm or confusion or something. You start on the path and then it all just kind of just goes blur, as if we just keep falling down the same hole. We all have one or two areas. What might that show up for you? Have a little think. Where's the bit that feels like it's this bit that you just hit your nose against the wall and you either retreat from it or you are trying to go forward and you end up like the boomerang pinging back on your nose? Have a little think. We don't need to go back into childhood. We're just looking at, like, you know, we don't need to go there. It's kind of worms, we're not going there, we've all got one of them. So let's, like, what's showing up for you right now? Where do you feel frustrated? But the second question, if you're not sure what that is for you, so let's start looking at the areas. Which areas do you feel most frustrated in right now? Where's the biggest frustration? It could be that you're like I'm going to all these networking events and can't seem to get the right conversations. It could be a myriad of things. It could be a family thing. I used to get completely frustrated, bless his heart, at my husband. And I'm like going, you know, I'd make it was either him or me kind of thing, you know, with what was going on. And I had to come to a place where it's like, this is on the way to my success. This is on the way to me building what I'm building. There's a reason for me to be able to learn how to kind of come through this and see my way through this, as it were. This is not in the way, it's on the way. We're going to kind of look at what that is. So which areas do you feel really frustrated with right now? I mean, I've got about 5 of them. Like, you've got less than 5, you're doing really well. I've got loads. Number 3. Which areas do you feel that you have the easiest flow and the most passion with? It might be that you know, that we have to kind of stretch the comfort zone, like it, so that you operate that passion at a higher level. But where's the easiest thing for you? Like, this is easy for me. I've never had an issue talking to people. Shutting up, big issue, but like talking to people, never had an issue. So where do you find you've got, for some people, it's like process, like they can just organize the bejeebies out of everything, or they can suddenly create designs that are amazing or whatever, or, you know, or do all the technical stuff. But which areas have you got the easiest flow and the passion for? Other question, what seems to have shown up in your world that's got a bit of serendipity about it? Like you didn't kind of do anything to get it, almost like it's a good contact or somebody referred you or something happened. It was like, you know, I've had loads of those, you know, just where just the email drops in, or and you just go, huh, I didn't do anything to get that. Where's that pointing? Where's those areas of serendipity for you? Now, they're to me like the feminine energy side of things. And we need a bit of masculine energy and a bit of feminine energy. So I want you to think of the last kind of edge, like the most uncomfortable thing that you last did. Okay. It's question number 4. Think about your last edge. Okay. Or an edge that you've got to. One edge that you got to and you kind of went through it over the other side. You might have been frightened of doing it, but you did it anyway. Or an edge that you know that you can get to and you find a reason not to do it. Like I'd find a reason not to get the tech sorted. Where's your edge, basically? Where was your last edge? Where's that bit that you either just got over the comfort zone to, or you're just sitting underneath it right now? And then the last question you're going to just keep thinking about is, what's your next edge? Not what you think you should do because everybody else is telling you you should do it. But where is it when you think about, if you looked in 12 months' time and your business had moved forward and you were feeling kind of fulfilled and you could see things growing and moving, and it wasn't, because it's never a kind of moment in time, it's kind of like a movement through. If we just met 12 months from now and we said, God, after that conversation 12 months ago, I can see where I hadn't moved through and I did in this 12 months, and I moved through this space, and this is the result of or this is where I can feel at the end of it. Where would we be in 12 months time if you've kind of moved through whatever it feels that feels kind of hard right now for you, like that next edge? Where does it look like for you in 12 months time? Because that's the place where we create the visibility plan, or look at what's getting in the way of that in the space of, so what's the next edge? What's that bit that if you got over that, you would feel automatically, no matter what happened in your business next year, automatically things would be better because it's been the place that you felt stuck at for a while. And why do you think that's your next edge? Because I want to really check in. So many people have borrowed goals, and then we end up putting the goals. It's almost like if the goals are not aligned, and really not aligned to what you truly want personally in your life, no amount of course buying, no amount of strategy, no amount of all of that shenanigans is going to take you there, because you won't take you there. You're literally not lined up against, the ladder in the wall is not lined up together. So if we just kind of go, if I get over this edge, it's going to make a difference to me. I want you to know, why do you think that? And why do you think you back off from that edge right now? Do you think you can't have it that good? Do you think you won't be able to cope? But I want you to just to feel into what's important for you, because I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and she said, do you know what she said, Angela? She said, the reason I think I've kept backing off from things at the minute in the last, and I keep wanting to hibernate. She said, all of my friends can now see what I'm trying to bring into the world. She actually wants to create resources for people she was a teacher for 20 years, and she wants to really help people with neurodiversity. And she wants to do some brilliant work. And she said, it's never been about 7 figures for me and all of that stuff, that I see in the marketplace. It's about really kind of having that next iteration of myself and making a difference, and really feeling that I'm stretching myself. But she said, all of my friends are saying to me, oh, it's going to be amazing. You're going to be such a success at this. And she said, every time they're saying that to me, I want to back off. I just want to keep backing off. And I go, I'm that curious. What do you think is on the other side of that success that you won't be able to cope with? So that we're not even making the moves to start now, because we think that, we've got a pressure, we've put a pressure on us, or we're taking a pressure in that thoughts about what we think that success should look like. She says, well, I think I should be, she said, I've got this idea that I should be kind of at conferences and all over the place. And I went, really? That's made up, isn't it? So that's the game that we're going to play today, is like, what are we making up about this obstacle that we think we've got? And is there anything in it, or if there isn't? And if you can walk away this afternoon with one of those imaginary walls demolished in your mind, and you can take your next action, how cool and how valuable will this time that you've spent with me today hopefully be for you? I spend a lot of time doing this with people. Studied psychology, 3 principle psychology, worked with over 1,000 different people in the last 13 years individually, and you see some stuff in people, both all types of people. See it in myself. I'm the last person to see my own upper limits, to be quite honest with you, and that is such a frustrating sense when you kind of find it in yourself. But I can answer those questions. There's financial ones for me next year. There's maybe organizational ones for me next year. There's way I react to certain things or not that I would like to be different at. And I'm like going, if I tip that edge, like, why do I not think that I can tip that edge? Why do I not think I can do that? So that's where we're going to play out. Has that given people food for thought so far? Okay, now it's going to be over to you. Is there anybody that feels brave or courageous enough to have a little bit of a hot seat, as it were, or to come up? And if we can do, get around as many of you as you want to, or put something in the comments and I'll answer it in between, where you kind of go, yeah, this feels my edge, as it were. This feels the bit that I'm not, I don't feel I can give myself. For me, it was like, well, I feel I can do the work, but I don't expect to be fulfilled with it. Whatever it is for you, there's gonna, like, you're smiling at it, and I'm laughing at myself and going, well, where did I make all of that crap up? But that's what we do. And it stops us taking just the next tiny move that we need to do today, which could exponentially start that snowball effect of things moving in the right direction for you. So Tineke, you had put your hand up, so feel free to, feel free to go. Talk to me.
Yeah, that was really helpful. Thank you, Angela. It's interesting. I don't know if you can see it. I've got a massive whiteboard here, and over the last couple of days, I've been planning. The interesting thing, I work as a career coach for professional women, and my focus is really on career happiness. So what I want to show, what I want to work with people on, is to say, you don't have to stay stuck where you are. You don't have to be in that corporate role for the next 20 years and be miserable for the rest of your life.
Okay.
That's what I do. But the thing that I want, the thing that I also am, let's say it like that, is I'm a bit of an artist myself as well. So I've been looking for ways of bringing together art and coaching. And for me, what is on that board it's a combination. Basically, what I've realized is that whilst what's on that board is good, it's a bit samey. It's a bit what everyone else does, because I feel that is what, there's a group program on that board. Do I want to do a group program? I don't know if I do. And if I do, then I want to do it in a certain way. So I'm doing currently a graphic facilitation course where I basically I draw what people say. My mum would say, I can see what you're saying. Well, that's what that is. And that's what really gets, I've seen that done, and I think it gives me an edge. Yes, it does that too. It will do that too, but it doesn't do that yet because I'm not there yet. But that's where I want to go, really. If you look deep down in me, that's where I want to go, really, because different. It gives me joy. It is it's something that people are, I share snippets of that online every now and again, and people dive onto it and think it's lovely and really, you know, they really react well to it. And it is so powerful. So what I've realized today, and I'm really hogging your time, is that is all well and good, but the like, what did you call it, the upper edge, or you know, my my ceiling at this moment in time is, what if that is what I want to do, how will I invest in a way that will allow me to do that? Time and money, and how do I get that message across? So that is my my upper limit, because what I want to share, the message I want to share is, you can do what you love and still be paid for it. You can have a career that is fitting you and still earn a good living. That and I want to not just, don't want to just have that message. I want to embody that message. I want to be that message.
So it's really hard to tell that to other people if you won't allow yourself to do that yourself, isn't it?
Exactly that. Exactly that.
There you go. Right. Yes, I totally hear you. I think, so what I'm hearing is that you're an incredibly creative person, but you haven't yet worked out, or you're questioning, or you keep backing off from the bit where you create a unique version of this, and actually people buy into it, and you feel certain that people are going to buy into it. So what I'm hearing is there's a lack of certainty or a self-doubt that if you come away from the kind of coaching program models that everybody else is telling you you have to do, you can't be a success unless you do it the way everybody else says that you should do it.
Yes and no. Yes and no, because deep inside I know, I mean, I know that it will work.
So so let's dive in. I was going to say, let's dive into, because I'm quite practical and creative around these kind of offer things, is like, let me ask you a couple of questions and to get you unstuck to this, right? We're going to match your passion to a need in the marketplace, and then your offer is the thing that's going to take them there, that you can explain why it's going to take them there. That's where messaging comes from. I'll show you this first of all as we do it. I did a talk the other day, and I can't kind of send the talk out live because it was in a private kind of paid summit thing, but I shared, like, these are the composites of anybody's message, okay? The composites of anybody's message are your timelines, your life thread, what it is about you that you're doing, your turning points, your embodied understanding, your trusted skills, sometimes your trials and your traumas, the transformations that comes from that, and then the testimonials from people. People, though, are stuck trying to do all of this without actually putting all of this in place first, okay? Because I end up, messaging is my thing, right? I love it. It's because I spent all my childhood watching good comedians in front of an audience, because my dad was a performer, and I just kind of understood there's a synergy, there's a place where their greatest skill and enjoyment and the audience's receptivity of that join together. So let's see if we can get into that for you very shortly. Okay, so here's the first question. If you had a person, would you prefer a group of people? I'm not saying this, would you think that the result could be done, first of all, either you'd like it with a person, what your preference is? Would you prefer to do it with an individual and go really deep? Would you prefer to do it with a small group and go deep? Would you prefer to do it as a kind of larger sort of piece where people kind of walk around and do it themselves? What would you prefer first? Where do you think is going to give somebody the best result from combining the two?
Yeah, so that straight away makes you jump in the deep end, because I've always, my experience so far is that it works very, very well with individuals. What I always had as my vision is that eventually I would have like retreats of sorts, or something where women would come and we would do this coaching / artwork together as a group. So it's not a simple answer to your question.
No, it is actually. It really, really is simple. It's kind of like there's a one-to-one model, and there's the ability for those who can't afford you at a one-to-one level to actually come
work in a group,
to do it in a retreat. Because what you're saying is, it's at this stage in time, for you to combine the two, and the reason why it can't be like what I call an automated course or anything like that is because at this moment in time, your way of actually really ironing out how this works and iron out the crinkles of how to put it together, what's most valuable when you work with somebody, when you combine the two together, we need to get it's kind of like we need to get some experience of doing that with somebody, so that you can then iron out the things that you don't need or the things that work best, etc., and actually sort of refine that process, so that the next person that you get and the next person that you get, it becomes a really nice, well-oiled sort of little machine that you can sit and go even deeper with that person. So it makes perfect sense to go, actually, for me to really see how to combine this with how to combine this in a way that's going to get people a really amazing result, and I can then message this with my uniqueness. One-to-one work is one of the best and the easiest way to do it. So don't buy into all of that stuff that you need to have one-to-many yet in order to have some kind of successful career. You need to establish with people that this is going to work, so that you can get some testimonials out of it. Okay, because then you can actually start to bring that into your messaging, because then you've got some tangible credibility that you can go, we've done this with this person, and the reason why this worked as opposed to just career coaching is that this person was able to go on a deeper reflective journey, and this is how they came out of it. So it's really important to get that validation from trialing that out. When you've got that validation from trialing it out, then it's much easier to say, in 3 months' time, I'm going to run my first retreat where we're going to take a small group of people around this. And if you're kind of building, if you're talking about this, and if you're using your platforms and your ability when you're speaking to people to talk about why this artwork makes such a difference in this, how people get to a better result, how they get to be more truthful in what they actually want, rather than just making up some stuff, as it were, and how actually doing some physical kinesthetic work with that really connects people to themselves. That's what I'm imagining is what's going to kind of go on. Can you see? It's almost like my little kind of messaging brain is going, if I were to sell Tinica, I'd be wanting to go, this is why this is a new approach, this is why this works, this is what people are going to come out with from actually doing it. And so I'd certainly start with this, and the easiest way for you to do it is to kind of answer a couple of questions, right? First of all, and I just kind of say this is the basic easy way to start kind of talking about this as a message, and taking away like, I need to work out all of this program first before I can go sell the program thing. I actually think you need to do completely the opposite. If you've got people that have already expressed an interest to this, even on social media or anything, I would make a beeline for going, do you mind if we have a 15-minute conversation where I could just ask you a couple of questions as to what you like about this, if it's of interest to you? I'm looking at maybe just trialing this out at the moment. I'm like, no problem, like I'll trial this out at an initial reduced rate, and then this is what my planning with it. What appealed to you about this? So you need to be in a couple of conversations with people, rather than think about, I need to put this big program together in order to go and get the message out to sell this big program. That's what gets people into complete overwhelm, where actually if you can reduce the barrier for me and just get into a conversation with a couple of people that you think might be interested in trialing this out with you, you get to iron out the issues with it, you get to combine it, and you actually get to see which parts of this people really, really warm to and what the results of that. That's brilliant, because then if you've recorded those sessions or you're doing it with somebody and you say, look, can I quote you on this? Then you've got social proof to go out and to and you've got personal confidence then that this is actually working. I never see anything go from seed to tree in anything. So it feels to me as if, I know you've got, because we get the vision for something, but because we've got the vision and we can see it all, we actually don't realize that we've got no clear timeline as to when that seed that we plant is going to actually become that tree. So we kind of get this issue with the timeline of it all, whereas actually if you just go, great, that's my eventual vision, where am I right now? I need a couple of people to trial this out so that I can actually find out whether I really love doing this and whether it really works for people. And then at that point is like, all you need is one or two, and you will have one or two people, because like if you go, well, this really works individually, or even if you've worked with people before, career coaching, or done something different, and you go back to those warm people and you say to them, look, I want to try out something a bit fresh and new here. Would you be up for a small adventure? You'd be amazed at what it kind of comes out from people.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. I mean, that's exactly what I was thinking, to in the new year to have a couple of like an hour's coaching session with some visual facilitation as a taster session, in exchange for me being able to have these videos online, and to then advertise it like that. That's where I was going with my thinking, and it feels a little bit as if what I've got there on the board is actually it's not gone, because that is still okay. It's just in a different way. It's a different way of living.
Like, do you want fresh bread every day, or just do you want to eat stale bread? So you could do something really radical right now, because your brain will not forget all of that crap that you've put on the board, okay? You could do something really radical, Tineke, if you want to leave this session with something radical. You could take a wiper and just wipe the whole lot off. I mean, like, how serious are you about kind of having a breakthrough into that area? Just go wipe it off. I'm like, literally, are we that serious, or are we just playing for more information? Go wipe it off. You will never forget. You go, but I've got all my plans out there. We could look, Einstein said it correctly. We can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that we're actually creating the problem with in the first place. We think that if we just have all this visual planning, we keep all of these notebooks with a million different references to all the webinars we've been on, that somehow all of the ducks are going to line up, we'll all get it, and we'll go forward. And I go, do you really want to just keep eating yesterday's food when there's fresh bread coming through your creative mind on a daily basis of how to actually build your business? You know. Oh, there. I think Tineke's gone a little bit.
Sorry, my internet.
You're fine. You're fine. I've got you.
A bit rubbish.
So you could do something radical. I mean, I'm quite a radical girl. I'm like, you could just wipe the bloody plan off the board and actually create a new plan that was very much around creating that. So I think, oh, she come back in. There we go. So you could wipe it off the board, Tineke, and do something completely radical and go, do you know what? Let's have some fresh creativity, because you're clearly a creative person. And this is how creativity works. It doesn't work on eating yesterday's food. It works, creativity comes through you like a literal energy in the moment. And even the most non-creatively person that thinks they're not creative has the ability to be creative. It's a fresh insight. So the only thing I would say that you would look at your edges, if you really want to get somebody transformed and you want a great conversation with them, and you want to sort of say, you say, okay, I'm thinking of offering it an hour. Why not say, you know, let me do 3 sessions on this or 4 sessions on this. So you create a package that you could eventually charge much more from. Because if you've got the package rather than the hour, it's fine to do an hour, but how transformational is anybody going to get anything in an hour? Not particularly. It can be hugely transformational, but you can also then push your own envelope and actually go, okay, I'm going to actually do a 6-week session for this much, for 50% off. I'm going to walk somebody through a fresh bread analogy. Yeah, I'm going to walk somebody through this process at a deeper level to get a deeper transformation. So I'm going to say, as the edges, you could try it once with an hour, but if you want somebody to be able to get you a really good testimonial, you're going to want to go deep. And actually, I'll tell you, Yeah, so don't be afraid of pushing that. Don't be afraid of saying, I'm going to do it at this price and I'm going to eventually charge it at this price, hopefully, but I really want to walk somebody through this process because I really want to see what the effect of this is to do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
that helped.
Yeah, that has helped. It's okay. I'm not completely gonna wipe everything off, but you know, you still want a little bit of an upper
I've
ceiling one.
still got my upper limit a little bit. Don't let me take it all away.
Some of it is quite good.
And you see, it's like, that is it. Look, that's the fear, is like, look at it, Tinica, like, why not? Why do you think you need it?
Well, and that's fair enough. I understand what you're saying.
I'm not saying take it off, right? I'm not saying don't. So don't
No,
feel as if I'm going to freak you out that much, as it were. But
no, but I mean, if I focus on that, then all this other rubbish, not rubbish, it will just it will come away.
This is what I'm saying, is you called it that. I didn't even call it rubbish. Does that make sense? Everybody heard this? You've all witnessed it. She called it rubbish, not me. What you're realizing is, that plan, like procrastinating planning, is a real thing for people. Do you know what I mean? Like putting another plan together, rather than actually just going out and having a conversation and getting somebody to work with to do this thing. It's like, we'll do all of that because it makes us feel so comfortable that the plan is workable. I promise you, you will change your plan as soon as you start working with a human being. You will change it, because what you think is going to work in the step-by-step will not work as soon as you get into the marketplace 100%. It cannot, because you've got things that you can't control, whereas when you've just put a plan together, you think it's controllable. So the upper limit is like, I'm trying to kind of control things by this plan. You can't. I mean, like, COVID taught us that, for goodness sake, that, you know, people had their KPIs and their budgets for 2020. Well, where did that go? Like, we're just, you know, for some things, it's like there's things that you can control, which is your only job most of the time is to try. Can you please suggest questions that we could ask ourselves at home on our message clearly? Yeah, can do. So our only job, here it is, Disha, right? Your only job through social media or anything is not to try and create this perfect business plan. I'm not saying don't have a business plan. I've got an idea in my mind exactly where I'm trying to get to next year with some numbers and different stuff that we're doing. But what I also realize is that people's buying habits change. Sometimes the way the market is happening is changing. What's happening in marketing can change. So you'll suddenly see all these marketing messages that come out that say, have a 12-month course a few years ago. Let's do 12-month mentoring. And then suddenly it kind of switches around, the swings and roundabouts. And don't have a 12-month course when you can do it in 12 weeks. So all you've seen in the last few years is 12-week, 90-day, 12-week, 90-day. And so what happens is we kind of get brainwashed by what everybody else is saying. And we go, oh, I have to do it in a 12-week course. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe, maybe not. So this is what I'm saying, is there has to be a bit of courage in us sometimes to go, if I wiped those plans completely out of the water, what would actually be wanting to come through me as a piece of fresh bread, creative inspiration of how to connect with those next people, who to ask next, as it were. You are connected within the 10-mile radius to your next client. Whether it's virtually 10 miles, you know, like in terms of doing things, but you and I are connected to our next clients. And we have to be prepared to scrub out the sitting behind the scenes and planning it, and be more prepared to go and have a conversation or express what we're about to other people. But we're frightened of the no. We think, if I haven't got all my ducks lined up, somebody will say no. And what if they ask me a question I don't know how to answer? All upper limiting. All upper limiting. Your only ever job in terms of messaging, this is messaging in one fell swoop. Jim Rohn said this in a quote. He's a marketer, but it's a bloody good message. He said, your only job is to enter the conversation that the customer is having in their head and not the one that you're having in yours. So our upper limiting is because we're sat there thinking about all this stuff. I don't know if I can. I don't know if they will. I don't know if I should. And actually, the only way that we're ever going to know what we're going to do is going to work, or is to actually go out in front of other people and go, talk to me. I'm thinking of doing this. Is this something of interest to you? They go, I don't know, what's it about? And then you explain it, and you start in the explaining, because you're passionate about it. You start to kind of go, I really want to help people do this, or my skills are around that, and I really want to bring this together, and we want to get this result. And when we start, if you think about it, what people are wanting is you want people that have an immediate problem that they want to solve now. Okay, the rest you have to educate through your message. But if you're starting off with why then, why are you choosing these people? Here's the 4 points that I was saying to you, Tanika, that you have to look for is why then? Why are you choosing this group of people? What affinity do you have for them? I've questioned people who are trying to do niching or ideal client when they suddenly go, I'm going to work with senior leaders to help them with their confidence, right? I had this from a client of mine. I knew her background was in house sales and different kind of areas of customer service. And I went, number one, what makes you realize that they've even got a confidence problem? I think they probably don't see themselves as having a confidence problem at senior leadership level. They've already kind of moved through that situation. What makes you think that you need to help them? She said, I don't know. And I thought, well, why have you picked them? So like like we're picking randomly sometimes, like where does your background, your skill set, your zone of genius, everything that you've got, who do you know it's going to make a big difference for? This is the question to ask yourself at home. Who can you make the greatest difference for? Now, I realized in all of my years was that I made a massive difference for people that were service-based or creative types of businesses, but they didn't know how to either express themselves personally, or they didn't know how to write or express the message. I knew that that was my kind of zone of genius with it. So ask yourself, why then? What affinity do I have with those people? Or with that thing that I'm wanting to do? What affinity do I have? So why then? Your next one is why this? In other words, why this product, this service, this thing? So you have to think through this. It's like, well, why is this thing? Why does this thing solve their problem? And what is the immediate problem that they would be getting up in the morning, sitting on the school run, as it were, and asking themselves? So, Tinica, for you, for instance, with this, it's kind of like, it could be something like, it could be a bit of a frustration, like they're sat in the car going, oh God, I've spoken to somebody about my career, or I haven't spoken to somebody about my career. And it's kind of like, should I stay? Should I go? I've spoken to HR, and I just don't know what to do. I've spoken to my friends, I've kind of looked online, etc. Somebody might have even had a career coach, and it's kind of like, it's just not seeming. I still feel confused. I still don't know what to do. I still feel frustrated, and I can't really seem to tap into the really reason why I feel like this. I just feel so unsettled about all of this, and it's really risky to make this decision. So especially at this time, of the year, I shouldn't be making. Why am I feeling unhappy? And the next minute they're looking for a coaching course to go on to stop them feeling unhappy. So it's kind of like there's a kind of thing in their mind. It'll be the things, it's like, imagine it's like what you'll say in your mind is like, God, I just feel so unhappy in this job. I just don't feel I can leave. I don't know what to do. But if I did leave, I don't know what to do. And what should I do? All these people are doing coaching courses. Should I do this? Or, or I've done a coaching course, or I don't know whether I should do this. And there's this feeling like they just don't know how to make the next move, because nothing seems to feel as if it's actually showing them the right path. So you can imagine if that's going on in the head, your message, it's like well, how does this answer that problem? How does this thing that I want to do answer that problem? Certainly service-based. How does it answer that? What's it going to help them? Actually, it's going to give them time. That's why I don't, in an hour, you can't necessarily go that deep with somebody, but just say, by using this form, by drawing, you can actually bring out what you really want. You can start to connect the dots with and for yourself. It guides you through that process. And because my background and skill set is around career coaching, we can actually combine the two together in a much more expressive, deeper way than you've had before. So if you still feel that you haven't found the answer for you, then this might be you know, this could be your next, this could actually settle it for you. That is a sense of like, somebody can help me settle the question for me, not tell me what to do, because that's what I hear is what could potentially going on. So you're asking, why them, why this? Then you've got to answer the ask. And I kind of did it with you, Tinika, there, which is like, why me? Where is it in my background and my skill set and my learnings and my embodiment do I know that I can lead somebody through this situation? Like, I know I can lead somebody through their messaging, or, you know, whatever it is that they need to do. Why you? And you can start to go, well, I've done it before, I've got this track record in it, I've had real sense, like it's common sense to me, it's like I know that this is actually what the problem is. And you have to find what I call the common enemy that's against you. So I'll give you an example. We run a 12-month mentoring program in the Visible Club to help people put the front end and the back end of their whole stuff together to build a sustainable business. My common enemy at the minute is all of that 90 days, sprint your way to 7-figure success kind of stuff. It's my common enemy, because that is just not the reality for the type of person that either doesn't make sense to, or is burnt out by trying to do that and it's not working for them. So I know what my common enemy is. So you can have a think about, who is your common enemy that you, it's not a person as such, but it's something in the opposite that's doing that. Who and what is your common enemy? And then why now? Here's your biggest thing. This is the thing that's going to have people kind of say yes or no to. Why now? Why now do they need to do that? And the why now is that helps you to be looking like, I have to solve an immediate problem for people right now, or tap into an immediate aspiration that they want to buy into for themselves right now. Not sort of, you know, 7 years down the line or whatever it is. It's like, where is that right now? And then, because not everybody's in the buying pocket for us right now, we want to create that consistent conversation, both having verbal conversations or the way that we do different things, so that people can gain a sense of, oh, she talks about this, oh, she talks about that. You'd be surprised how many times we have to get that message out before it lands to people, massively. So I think for people, it's like, if your upper limit is procrastinating, like you simply just want to keep putting it on a whiteboard and actually never sort of get into a conversation with somebody, because it just feels really scary when you don't know how to articulate it, plant the seed in there. Like, do something radical, like just scrub the whiteboard, because what's really true for you will still come through. Yeah, and what is everybody else's won't.
Yeah, so I'm not afraid of being in conversations. I think it is. I think it's this new way of bringing in something that people haven't seen before, haven't experienced before. That is, and I'm.
You can't perfect it, Tinika. You can't perfect it yet. Don't wait.
I'm not, and that's exactly it. There's some practical things that I'm like, oh, you know, yes, and that's bottom of that list that you showed us. But it's there is something there where I'm saying, okay, how can I find a very simple way of testing out these things without having to invest loads of money?
That's your breakthrough. And like, you know what the answer is like, there'll be, the easiest thing is a message to a couple of people. I want to just test out a new, fresh approach to doing this. I'm looking for a volunteer. Now, I always say, it's like, don't go down the road of doing 1 million volunteers, because that keeps you stuck in no income. It's like, do 1 or 2 so you can feel some commonalities, and then start charging, because now you've got testimonials, and that's that next little edge for people. But you simply want to test this out. Where the upper edge comes for people is that they think they need to have all of the back end first, all of the stuff in place in order for it to be credible in the marketplace. Can I kind of say to you, you are the credible.
Yeah.
You are the credible. You are you are the message. Your desire to be of service in the way that you want to be of service is enough to get the ball rolling, just to move you through to the next thing. You are the credible. And then you can actually doing the incredible is simply being in the game, in the process of actually doing it. You are the, can you be incredible? Can you be in credibility, which means actually just not waiting, not kind of going, well, yes, at some point, I promise you, you will need back end stuff once it starts to take off and you want to do more with it. But to bring the two together and to move through that bit is be in credibility by actually just being in the process of doing it, rather than kind of making it all look pretty on a whiteboard, but nobody's getting any benefit of your whiteboard. I always say to people, I always say to people, like, do you want me to lie to you or do you want me to tell you the truth? I'm like, just like, it's my personality. People, you either love it or you hate it. Do you know what I mean? That's just the way it goes. So I know we're kind of coming over time now, but is there one thing that feels like it shifted you, that you were going to go today, and if I came to you in 24 hours later, you've kind of gone, I'm not backing off from this. I can see the way through that next thing. It's falling away and I'm doing that next action. What would it be?
For me, it is about finding the smallest experiment that I can do that doesn't require me to invest in a load of tech to get started. That's what I'm going to think up.
Cool, because that, and actually I can tell you what that is right now. It's a quick message to a couple of people, or if you've got a group or in a couple of groups that you might in, and go, look, this is what I'm looking to do. It's like it's your next message. It's not a whole plan. It's like a message, a thing. That's it. If anybody wants me to do this with them, I'm just going to put this in there, and you can have 40. I do a 45-minute, and we will literally, if you've got that upper limit bit, or you kind of think there's one thing that you want to go forward with that is just stopping you taking that next action, then please do book a call. And Tineke, you can, if you want to as well. You don't have to kind of go, I've had my fill. You can have seconds. But yeah, absolutely. So please do book a call with me. We'll be back next week with the next thing. But it would be great if those of you are still here, if there's anything you want to put in the comment as to, I'd love to know from what you've heard with Tineke, is there one thing or anything that you have had today that has helped you to just kind of explore this topic a little bit further?
Well, in my case, not really, in the fact that all that I've cleared. Like I know exactly what I want to do, and exactly how I'm going to work. I know exactly what I'm offering, and all that is clear. Oh. That's not where my issues are. So the only thing is that just confirmed that what I've been doing okay. In a way, I was I could say that I was like that maybe like a year ago, like I was totally lost because the online business is new to me. But my issues are totally different, because I mean, I've answered all the questions that I answered like right now. I didn't really have to even think about it because I knew exactly what's going on. So, but it was interesting to see.
That's awesome. So if there's anything around planning your visibility or that next thing for you that you wanted, then please feel free to book a call or to come on to the other marketing things we do. I'll tell you, next iteration, she hasn't got it in there, it'll be the next section that we're going to look at. I think I've got it in front of me.
That's one question I had. Do we have to register for each session, or?
Yes, yeah, if you go in there, there'll be a link in there. Every topic is different. Today was sort of like that sort of upper limit that stops people being visible, as it were. So if you have something particularly that you wanted to speak to me about, then simply, yeah, absolutely, please book a call, because if it's a plan, yeah, if a strategy plan, etc., or it's around the marketing of that visibility or your message, as Disha was saying, or how that connects with people, then please do just book a call, and then obviously just show up for the next one. We love to see your beautiful faces, as it were, and then the replay will be in the Facebook group afterwards. So with that in mind, I will call an